Hello everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti with Relate Corporation. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about learning management systems. In a previous podcast, I gave you an overview of what an LMS is. In this one, I want to talk a little bit more specifically about things you can do with the LMS. Now, obviously, the first thing that they do is they track. Now, when you track your course, you can set the course to incomplete or complete. When you complete a course, that means to the LMS that you have gone through every slide or slide view or page view of your course. Once you do that, it's complete. Incomplete means you haven't. You still have more content to go through before the LMS recognizes the course as complete. You can also set a course to pass and fail. Now, that's real simple. You either pass the course and you move on to the next course maybe, or to whatever is left on your curriculum, or you fail it. And failing it means you either have to take it over again or some other horrible thing will happen to you. But anyway, pass-fail can work, but it's usually not used that often. And you have to set your pass-fail criteria, for example, 70%, 75%, 80%. That's going to determine at what point your course passes. Most companies tend to do a complete, incomplete with a grade. So the grade is there just so they know what they've done. The complete, incomplete tells them that they actually have finished the content, and then they can determine based on the grade whether they continue on or whether they don't. It's not quite like a pass-fail, but it's similar in some respects. Another thing you can do with an LMS is bookmarking. Bookmarking allows you to come back into a course after you've left it and be at the same exact place where you left. That's not always a good idea. Let's say you're in the middle of a simulation and you have to leave. You get out of the course and you get back in and you have no idea where you are. You're in the middle of a simulation. You don't remember maybe how you got there. So bookmarking, it has its pros and cons. What if you're in the middle of a test? Many times you'll wind up back to a question, but it's in an incomplete state, and the LMS may or may not know how to deal with it, and neither will the authoring tool in many cases. So bookmarking is something I really don't recommend. Now, if you do your courses right, your course is going to be probably 5 to 15 minutes, or modules or lessons. They're not going to be that long. If you're doing a 1-hour module lesson, well, shame on you. That's too long. It's just going to take up way too much time. Break your courses into something smaller. But let's say you have small courses. Do you really need to bookmark? If you have a 5-minute lesson, bookmarking is hardly worth it because you may be 3 minutes into it and you don't know where you left off and you come back in and you're still lost. 3 minutes, take it over again. One, it reinforces the concept, and two, you're not worried about where you left off. It's also easier from a learning perspective to make sure that you do understand the concept, not just get out, get back in, get out 5, 6 times. And even though you're bookmarking, it may not make any sense, like I said, where you come in. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that all the authoring tools and all of the LMSs are a little bit different in the way they handle AICC and SCORM. For example, to complete a course, you may have a status code that's a C on one LMS. Maybe it's a lowercase c on a different one. Maybe it's the word complete on still a different one. So you have to be aware when you publish to that LMS what some of the requirements of the LMS are. This is the problem with the whole AICC and SCORM compliance right now. A lot of the LMSs say they're SCORM compliant or they're AICC compliant. That doesn't mean they conform to every single aspect of it. So there are areas of leeway where you have to be careful because your course, when you take it from Plateau and put it into Taleo, may not work exactly correctly. You take it out of Taleo and put it in CourseMill, well, you may not, again, be working exactly the same. A lot of it should launch, but it may not track correctly or it may not complete correctly. Also, not all of the LMSs launch the same kind of windows. So for example, when you launch your course, it launches a window in the background, then your course. That's called the LMS Wrapper. And the LMS Wrapper is that window that contains JavaScript code, which is what allows the LMS to communicate with the learning, with the actual authoring tool, with your course. So without that wrapper, there is no communication back and forth between the two. So keep that in mind. They're all a little bit different. They tend to work similarly, but content usually doesn't flow 100% from one LMS to another. That's a problem with the industry. But Once you're aware of that, then you know that if you publish it, you'll be okay. If you buy content from content providers, their content may or may not run exactly the way you want it on your particular LMS. You may need to talk to the content provider to make sure that they set the correct status codes, completion codes, and that they close the right windows. These are things that can all be fixed, but things you need to be aware of. All right, that's another quick talk on LMSs. We'll get into more about LMSs later on. Hope you enjoy. We'll talk to you soon.